When people think of Europe, they often imagine ancient cities, peaceful squares, and countries filled with deep historical beauty. And right in the heart of Europe, the Czech Republic has always stood out as a very unique nation. This is the home of Prague, a capital city often described as one of the most beautiful cities in the world, where cobblestone streets, medieval castles, and the Vltava River create a landscape that feels like something straight out of a fairy tale movie. But behind that quiet and elegant beauty lies a reality that surprises many people. Today, the Czech Republic is considered one of the largest centers of adult film production in Europe, contributing roughly 10 to 15% of the region's total content output, a number large enough to shock many outsiders. Because when most people think about this country, they picture safety, culture, peace, and artistic charm. Very few would expect that behind the historic buildings and slow-paced lifestyle exists a highly developed industry operating on an international scale. What makes it even more interesting is not simply the existence of the industry, but the way it exists. It is not loud, not flashy, not openly displayed on the streets. Yet it has quietly operated for many years as a hidden but stable part of the economy. So why has a small country with just over 10 million people become one of Europe's major centers for such a sensitive industry? The answer is far from simple. It involves history, social transformation after the Cold War, and the way people here view personal freedom. And when you look deeper, you begin to realize this is not a contradiction, but the result of a very unique historical and cultural development. In today's video, Top 10 Reality will take you deep into the lifestyle and lesser-known truths behind the beautiful country known as the Czech Republic. Located in the center of Europe, the Czech Republic borders Germany, Austria, Poland, and Slovakia. This strategic location has made the country an important connection point for trade and transportation across the region. Its capital, Prague, is the country's most iconic destination. The city stretches along the Vltava River, with historic architecture preserved almost perfectly for centuries. There are areas where, the moment you walk in, it feels as if time has completely stopped since the Middle Ages. Across the country, there are more than 2,000 castles and fortresses of all sizes. These structures reflect the deep historical roots and continuous development of the region through many different eras. That is why tourism, culture, and services have become extremely important parts of the Czech Republic's economy. In terms of size, the country covers around 78,000 square kilometers and has a population of more than 10 million people. Although it is not a large nation, its standard of living and infrastructure are considered highly developed. Overall, the Czech Republic is a country deeply connected to history, architecture, culture, and the classic image of Europe itself. And perhaps that is exactly why the existence of such a controversial industry feels so unexpected to many outsiders. Life in Prague follows a very stable and organized rhythm. Public transportation has become the true backbone of the city. The metro, trams, and buses reach nearly every area, operate on time, and remain relatively affordable. Ticket control is not overly complicated, but the heavy fines are enough to make most people follow the rules voluntarily. On the streets, traffic rarely feels chaotic. Pedestrians are given priority, and it is surprisingly uncommon to hear constant car horns like in many other major cities around the world. Residential neighborhoods, as well as downtown areas, are kept clean and carry a peaceful atmosphere. In terms of safety, the Czech Republic is consistently ranked among the European countries with relatively low crime rates. Walking at night in many central districts does not feel nearly as dangerous as it might in some other large cities. People here also tend to value independence and personal space. In cafés or on public transportation, it is common to see people quietly reading books, working on their own tasks, or simply sitting in silence instead of constantly talking to strangers. The education system is also highly regarded and has helped create a workforce with strong professional skills and social awareness. This can clearly be seen in the way public services function and how orderly daily life feels throughout the country. Overall, the Czech Republic is a stable and well-organized society that operates quite efficiently. And perhaps that is exactly what makes the parallel existence of a sensitive industry so fascinating in the eyes of the outside world. For many years, the Czech Republic has been considered one of the largest centers of adult film production in Europe, contributing roughly 10 to 15% of the region's total content output. This industry operates through a highly professional business model. In Prague and many nearby cities, there are numerous studios equipped with full production teams, modern filming technology, editing departments, and post-production systems. Most of the content is created for international audiences and distributed mainly through online platforms. Contrary to what many people might imagine, this is not entirely an underground industry. It exists within a certain legal framework, with regulations related to labor contracts, working conditions, and content control. One of the key reasons why the Czech Republic became such an attractive destination for production companies is the significantly lower operating cost compared to Western Europe or the United States. Studio rentals, labor costs, and production expenses are all far more competitive. In addition, the country's central location in Europe makes travel convenient for international crews. The technical workforce here is also highly regarded and capable of meeting professional production standards. What is especially interesting is that this industry is almost invisible in everyday public life. There are no giant advertisements, no flashy promotions on the streets, and no obvious public presence. Most studios operate quietly and separately from residential neighborhoods and ordinary social spaces. As a result, even though the production scale is relatively large, the industry's actual visibility in daily society remains surprisingly low. Most people continue their normal routines, working, studying, and living, without directly interacting with it. The coexistence of a stable, modern society alongside a sensitive industry reveals a very unique approach to management within the Czech Republic. To understand why the Czech Republic became such a suitable environment for this type of industry, it is important to look back to the period before 1993, when the country was still part of Czechoslovakia, which included today's Czech Republic and Slovakia. During the Cold War, Czechoslovakia was heavily influenced by the Soviet Union. The political system controlled many areas of society, including religion. Over time, religious activities became increasingly restricted, and the role of religion in daily life gradually weakened. As a result, moral standards slowly shifted away from being strongly tied to religion and instead became more connected to law and individual freedom. Then, in 1989, the Velvet Revolution took place, marking the end of communist rule in Czechoslovakia. A completely new era began, one where society opened rapidly to Western influence, market economics, and more modern liberal values. The Velvet Revolution was a series of peaceful demonstrations that took place from November 16th to December 29th, 1989, leading to the collapse of a 41-year socialist regime with almost no bloodshed. The movement began after police violently suppressed student protesters in Prague on November 17, 1989. That event triggered massive demonstrations across the country, eventually ending with Václav Havel becoming president. What followed was a major transformation toward a market economy and stronger integration with the West. Then, in 1993, Czechoslovakia officially separated into the Czech Republic and Slovakia through one of the most peaceful national splits in modern history. These changes did not only carry political significance, they also deeply transformed the mindset of society itself. After decades of living under strict control, people began to value personal freedom more than ever before. Traditional social standards gradually became less influential, and many people started separating private life from public judgment. In that environment, industries considered sensitive or controversial in many other countries did not face overwhelming social pressure in the Czech Republic. Instead, they were often viewed simply as part of economic activity, as long as they operated within the boundaries of the law. And it was this historical transformation that became one of the key foundations for many of the social and economic changes that followed afterward. One particularly notable characteristic of the Czech Republic is its extremely high percentage of non-religious citizens. Among younger generations, roughly 90% do not identify with any religion at all. Roman Catholicism remains the largest religion in the country, but it represents only around 26.8% of the population. Protestant groups account for approximately 2.1%, along with several smaller religious communities. Because of this, the way social norms are formed in the Czech Republic differs significantly from many other countries. Instead of relying heavily on religious teachings, social rules are shaped more by law and individual responsibility. In practice, people tend to respect privacy and avoid interfering too deeply in the personal choices of others. There is a fairly clear distinction between breaking the law and personal moral decisions. That mindset has helped create a society with less social judgment and pressure compared to many places around the world. Decisions related to private life are generally seen as the responsibility of the individual, as long as they do not negatively affect society as a whole. What makes this even more interesting is that a high level of atheism does not automatically lead to chaos or lack of discipline. On the contrary, the Czech Republic still maintains a stable society with a strong legal system, efficient public services, and relatively high levels of safety. People generally follow regulations, traffic remains orderly, and daily life feels calm and structured. Because of that, industries considered sensitive are not strongly opposed on a massive scale. Instead, they are managed and regulated rather than completely eliminated. The combination of high atheism rates, legal-based social standards, and strong respect for personal freedom has created a very unique environment for industries that might remain controversial elsewhere. And this became one of the direct reasons why the industry mentioned earlier was able to grow so strongly in the country. Besides history and social structure, economics also played a major role in turning the Czech Republic into a production center within Europe. Compared to Western European countries such as Germany or Austria, operating costs in the Czech Republic are significantly lower. Studio rentals, labor costs, and production services are all much more affordable, while technical infrastructure and workforce quality still meet high professional standards. The country's production crews, editing teams, and technical specialists are fully capable of working on international-level projects. This creates a huge advantage. Companies can reduce costs while still maintaining professional production quality. In addition, the country's central location in Europe makes travel much easier for international crews. Logistics costs and transportation time are also reduced compared to operating in more distant regions. For workers, in a competitive economy, jobs that provide quick income can become attractive options for some young people. As a result, economic factors have directly contributed to the expansion of the industry within the country. What is especially interesting is the way Czech society views the industry itself. For most people, it is not a constant topic of public controversy. Instead, it exists as part of the economy and is often viewed more practically than emotionally. Meanwhile, culture, education, and everyday social life continue operating completely independently from it. The common perspective is simple. As long as no laws are broken, individuals have the right to choose their own work and way of life. This clearly reflects the strong culture of personal freedom that developed after the country's social transformation. Of course, not everyone fully agrees. There are still concerns about the country's image and the possible impact on younger generations. However, these concerns have not grown into major social conflict. One very interesting characteristic of Czech society is the clear separation between personal life and the overall image of the country itself. For many people, the Czech Republic is still primarily recognized for its culture, history, education, tourism, and quality of life, not simply because of one controversial industry. And it is exactly this approach that helps the country maintain social stability, even while certain sensitive industries continue to exist. That is also what makes the Czech Republic one of the most unique countries in Europe, a place where personal freedom, history, and economics coexist in a very distinctive way. The second major concern involves long-term social impact. In the age of the internet, online content can directly influence how younger generations think, learn, and develop their perceptions. Because of that, appropriate regulation is considered necessary in order to reduce potential risks in the future. The third issue involves individual rights within the production process itself. Matters related to labor contracts, working conditions, and the protection of participants require strict management in order to prevent exploitation or negative consequences behind the industry. To address these concerns, the Czech Republic did not choose a path of total prohibition. Instead, the country adopted a legal management approach. Activities connected to the industry must comply with specific regulations regarding production conditions, labor agreements, content control, and distribution. The legal system functions as a form of risk control while also ensuring that these activities do not negatively affect overall social order. In reality, despite the relatively large scale of the industry, social stability within the Czech Republic has remained strong. Crime rates stay low, daily life is not heavily disrupted, and society continues functioning normally. This combination of existence and control has created a rather unique balance. The industry continues to operate, but within clearly defined boundaries. When viewed together, the Czech Republic almost appears to function as a two-layer structure. On the surface, it is a stable country with a safe living environment, an effective legal system, and an orderly urban lifestyle. In Prague, daily life continues normally. Education, tourism, culture, and public services remain the defining aspects of the nation's image. At the same time, behind that surface exists a highly specialized industry aimed primarily at international markets and operating almost entirely outside public visibility. What makes this especially interesting is that these two realities rarely collide directly. The industry does not fundamentally change how society functions, nor does it significantly impact public infrastructure or the everyday lives of most citizens. The key factor is the very clear separation between them. This model helps reduce conflict between different values existing within the same society. In many countries, sensitive industries often trigger major controversy because they clash with cultural or religious standards. But in the Czech Republic, the separation between public life and private industry greatly reduces those tensions. The result is a rather unusual balance. A stable society can exist alongside highly specialized industries, as long as everything remains within legal boundaries. Because of this, the Czech Republic has become an interesting example of a society operating on multiple layers simultaneously. At the broader level, the country still maintains a safe environment, a high quality of life, a clear legal framework, and a relatively civilized social structure. Yet alongside that, there are still industries serving niche international markets under specific legal regulations. The core factor lies in how society is organized. Economic activities are separated from general community life. Social standards are built primarily around law rather than religion. Personal freedom is respected, but not beyond legal limits. And it is precisely this structure that helps reduce conflict between elements that might otherwise seem completely opposite within the same system. From a wider perspective, the Czech Republic is not truly an abnormal case. Rather, it is the result of decades of historical, social, and economic development. And perhaps the most important point is this: if we judge a country through only one single aspect, we are very likely to misunderstand it. In the case of the Czech Republic, only by placing all of these factors into the same context can we truly understand why the country functions in such a unique way. It is also an example showing that personal freedom and social control can absolutely coexist if the system is organized carefully enough. Thank you for watching this video from Top 10 Reality. If you found the content interesting, don't forget to leave a comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share the video to join more exploration journeys in the future. Goodbye, and see you again in the next videos.